out, this the fight that I've been craving. I know there's something inside of me, but it's been masked by fear and anxiety. But no more, I'ma break out of the chains. Let's go! I'm waking up, this ain't enough. All of my dreams were starting to rust, but I believe that I can adjust. Positive thoughts, I'm starting to trust. Nothing's deserved unless you work. Something at work requires an urge. I have been hurt by those at their worst, but that gave me will, some power, a surge. And they know that I won't surrender, so they fear me as a contender. When I fight, they always remember, yeah. I will be known, I won't let go. I will not stop, I will be great. I will be known, I won't let go. I will not stop, I will be great. 'Cause we can hit it conquer, like we're monsters. We can last much longer, beating this forever. We can hit it conquer, like we're monsters. And we can last much longer, beating this forever. I am a hunter, I've been filled with demons and hunger. I am the thunder, I command the masses in numbers. Look at the fear in their eyes, this is what happens when you are surprised. It's time to meet your demise, just call me Zeus and look to the sky. Everything's amplified, no they cannot deny, I will be rectified. If you dissect me, find scars you left behind, injuries that define me to my core. They'll hear me roar like never before, the pain I absorbed is feeding my core. I'm hard to ignore, I'll beat down your door. If you wanted war, well then you got war. And they know that I won't surrender, so they fear me as a contender. When I fight, they always remember, yeah. I will be known, I won't let go. I will not stop, I will be great. I will be known, I won't let go. I will not stop, I will be great. 'Cause we can hit it conquer, like we're monsters. We can last much longer, beating this forever. We can hit it conquer, like we're monsters. And we can last much longer, beating this forever.
All right, y'all gonna have to bear with me.
Hey babes, hello,
Bitch,
hello,
no,
hello.
don't talk yet.
Happy day.
How's everybody doing today? So what you're gonna see me doing is I have my wireless. I love this thing. I've just with it. This one's called the Re. If you guys ever need a wireless keyboard with your mouse, wheel, all kinds of volume buttons, special stuff like that. If you ever, they're awesome. No, it's not my sponsor or nothing like that. I tell people to use things, use products that I definitely swear. So I should probably make that. How is everybody doing? I have my touch screen here. I don't have a panel tonight. The only thing I want to do, okay, so I've been sick all day. I knew that eventually that child you got was going to find me. It didn't matter how much I try to stay away from him. We're always close to each other, so there was I come in, I vitamin up. I got my ginger in me, turmeric in me, all my vitamins, and it still got me. It's all it is a major headache. It's like in right here, weird as hell, behind my ears. But I still I slept extra time, all that stuff. But I woke up and I just, for whatever reason, there's just something about Kiely's case that don't make a lick of sense, y'all. And I will literally sit all day long when I have time to game, and I will just listen to Kiely. Miss Prenny, I know she's not here yet. She on her way home. But she had dropped a video, and she's like, I know you don't really listen to these people. I mean, from time to time I do, but it's just people that stop making Kiely content. I kind of just, I stay subscribed, but I just don't I don't have notifications on. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all know me. I ain't gonna lie. But Candace Starr, I tell you what, this girl from the jump of Kiely Rodney, I've loved the way that she's presented her stuff. She says it all allegedly, but I tell you what, I don't know if I can use this mouse, but we're gonna do it. If you want this screen over here bigger, let me know. Otherwise, you're gonna be watching me fake stuff. So we're just gonna keep watching shit. But anyway, people have just kind of like been asking questions behind the scenes, and I started digging to start helping find people, and I came across this website, y'all, that I ain't never seen before in my life, and it's just kind of like a receipt per se on their behalf. So I kind of been collecting and trying to put together my own timeline. I won't base it on hearsay. It has to have something that has solid information. If you feel that you have solid information, please email me. Bottom left hand of the screen, right below me, see that right there? Email me. If you want it to be more anonymous, please email me at truthforkylie@patreon.com. With that said, I don't know. I might have to slide back over to my house. I don't know about this. I really like it, but I don't. But what I want to do is share it. If you guys are not subscribed, I do. But I did not know. I'm sorry. I got hotkeys. I like that. There you all go. Because I want to watch this. I want to get through CNYs completely. Because, like, last night I had squirrels, I'm not going to lie, and I was so easily distractible. I was having trouble maintaining. So I was tired as fuck. I'm not going to lie. But it makes sense. Some of it. But Candace Starr, yes, absolutely. We're going to check her out. And then I'm going to try to fix my ghost. I'm going to pack it up. I want to fix this haunted house. And I think I want to start working on it. I have. I might. Hey, why are you hurting yourself? Hey, come here. Oh, if you here, I will scratch. But yeah, it's pretty much all we're gonna be doing. Going through some stuff. There's something that I want to show to y'all because I bet you nobody knew about this. And if you did, so it's not super important. I want to listen to what they have to say once I tell them.
Okay, so now that the Kiely Rodney case has basically played itself out and we have a full story, I wanted to go back to the beginning. There is one main thing I need to point out that proves to me that Kylie's friends are very guilty, in my opinion, allegedly. Um, Before we get into that, I want to show you the very first video I ever did for Kiely Rodney, and it's called Kiely Rodney Round 1.
Get it,
Okay.
girl.
Hold on. There you go. Be careful. All right, here we go.
Feel that she's safe. So that's why we came here today, because I wanted to look around for myself, because I haven't been here yet.
Pause.
Such an
Pause.
odd statement.
Pause.
Sorry, it is.
Okay, that was a huge red flag for me. And
Okay.
why? Because, okay, first of all,
Feel that she's safe.
I feel that she's safe. That's manipulation. Okay, and I'll get back to that. And then he says,
honestly.
So that's why we came here today, because I wanted to look.
We came here today,
But
and she looks down.
I'll just let y'all know. Recently, I've been going through like FBI unclassified now information. And then I'm watching stuff based on MK Ultra. I've been look that True Stream Media. If you all do not follow their YouTube and you prefer to read stuff, they on Twitter too. And I tell you what, some of these lists she's made, the comparison to 9/11 here, 9/11 in Israel. I mean, shit, almost like it's planned. I don't know. Just odd shit. We won't get on Kiely Rodney.
Down and to the side, and so does he. I think that these two are messing around together, okay? Pause. Now, this is important only to show you how their minds think, okay? Just keep that in mind. Here we go.
Because I haven't been here yet.
Because I haven't been here yet. Displacement. So if I was to manipulate you, right? And you say my child's missing and I think you did it. You know, you think this in your head, you don't say this. But let's just say I killed somebody and you think I did it. The first thing I would say as a manipulator would be, oh, I think she's perfectly fine though.
Right.
So when you find her dead, you're like, well, they
thought she
was fine, so they don't have nothing to do with it. Do you understand? Reverse psychology. Keep going. You following me? And then the displacement. I wasn't here. I haven't been here yet. Displacement.
Definitely wasn't at the party either. I'm gonna go.
Displacement. But, so that.
And it's crazy because.
Big to me when I first heard.
They literally are going the last place that they know Kiely was like, why are you make it all fun.
The first 6 seconds. Are you kidding me?
It is an interview you will only see here on Fox 40 News. The boyfriend of missing teen Kiely wrote, Westfall has heard from her. He says they exchanged text messages before she left for a senior farewell party at the Prosser family campground, the last place anyone so far has reported seeing her.
Okay, so that's a key, right? The key is...
I'm breaking up because I'm not talking.
The key is that the last place Kiely was seen was at the party.
I mean, no audio.
Okay, now they're about to basically say, I don't know when, but that's where I'm trying to get to.
I mean, no audio.
That they took the camera people, the news people, to Reno to look for her. And I said, this is the very first thing I've ever seen on Kiely, and I didn't know what was going on yet. And I said, I feel like she's the complete opposite direction from where they just took her. And that is a key. And when it comes together.
There you go.
Now, I've said all this before, but I guess nobody heard it. So hopefully somebody hears it this time. So he's trying to claim, as her boyfriend, she texted him to let him know she's going to a party. If I'm going to a party, I need to call my man. Let's just see if we can find that one specific part. Please bear with me. Okay, I think I found it.
I would have noticed if something was slightly off. While law enforcement, including the FBI, continue their search in and around the Prosser campground and reservoir, Jagger, Kate, and another friend went to Reno to search for themselves for Kiely. Only Fox 4.
Did you hear that? So everybody's looking for Kiely in Placer, but not them. They're all the way in Reno doing interviews in Reno. They took the interview people, the news people, all the way to Reno to do the interview. It's very, very displacement. Okay. So now let's get to the original video that I wanted to go over, and it's in the very first few seconds of the video. Now, there is one main part that I can't find, but I know it happened. So if you remember it happening, please, 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 in the comments, just put I remember, okay? Okay, so this is when the video that AWP put out for Kiely. And you gotta listen closely.
Search for Kiely began.
She had a guy with her. She was asking me really weird questions, like in the sense of, how do you put on your seatbelt?
Now we know we probably have it tied to Boca.
Boom. Did you hear it?
The search and rescue.
The Nevada County Sheriff Coroner. The search for Kiely began.
She had a guy with her. She was asking me really weird questions, like in the sense of, how do you put on your seatbelt?
Now we know we probably have it tied to Boca.
To Boca. Okay. So now, let's rewind, fast forward, whatever it is. Originally, the statement that AWP put out was we were searching for Kiely in Boca. Okay? That was what they told the public. Okay? What they did not tell the public was they left Boca and they went back to Placer. And that's when they found Kiely. Okay? So when they put out the statement, we found Kiely, what was Jagger's first response on social media? They didn't find her. They didn't find her. It's a lie. They didn't find her. Do you remember that? Please, I'll give you a minute to write, I remember. Just in case somebody's seeing this that don't know the case of Kiely Rodney, just so that they can have their proof, because I don't have the screenshot of it. If you have the screenshot, send it to me, please. But his first words to social media, him and Samantha Smith, okay, their first words, not allegedly, facts, were, were, I'm sorry, lost my train of thought, looking at Kit Kat, was, they didn't find her, it's a lie. They didn't find her, it's a lie. They didn't find her, it's a lie. Well, how do you know it's a lie if you weren't there and you don't know what happened, right? But my thing is, in their brain, social media told them AWP was in Boca. Okay? Now they're good at not just manipulation, but reverse psychology. Okay? So their subconscious came out for that hot moment. And they're like, no, they didn't. They didn't find her. Why? Because they knew she wasn't in Boca. And the last thing they heard through social media was that AWP was searching for her in Boca. But what they didn't tell the public was they left Boca and went to Placer. Okay? So, this is huge. You know, we're not even going to speak on the fact that Jagger thought he was in charge of the investigation. Okay, this shows me typical narcissistic movements, manipulation, reverse psychology. It's all tied in together. Okay, so I don't know why nobody ever spoke on this. I mentioned it once and nobody really heard me. But this shows me that they knew Kiely was in Placer because they knew she wasn't in Boca. How do you know they didn't find her in Boca? Because you knew she was in Placer. Why would it be a lie that they found her? Huh? Unless you had knowledge of where she was. I think it was the perfect setup. I do. I'm so glad that AWP didn't put out, hey, we're going to stop searching in Boca and we're just going to go straight back to Placer. Because that's what these kids did from the beginning. And I showed you that very first interview. It was the very first time I heard Kiely's case. I knew nothing about what was going on. And in that video, if you watch it, round one, okay, I literally say, I feel like he took them all the way to Reno because he knew what? That she was back in Placer. Again, their subconscious is leaking. Leaking a lot of goo. But thank goodness not everybody's brain is shot. I can pick it up and you can pick it up now, right? So, biggest red flag that says these friends are guilty is that their subconscious knew she wasn't in Boca. See, AWP tripped them up. They tripped them up and they didn't even realize it. They thought they were outsmarting everybody. But they're not that smart. Why? Because the subconscious, when you're lying, it leaks. You did it? Did they get you? Try again. It's okay. So yeah. Tell me what your thoughts about this and we'll ask. Maybe we'll just ask Spirit. We'll ask Kiely herself.
knew it was ending. Alright. I don't know why my internet, but my internet's dumb as hell. And they still ain't done.
Hey everybody, how are you guys? I hope you guys are good. I hope
Tomorrow
you're having a good day or night, depending on where you are. I don't have a long.
Just so y'all know, I'll try to keep this as live as possible. My internet's gonna be keep going in and out until now. It's tomorrow. It's been 3 days. Fucking with all of our shit. All right.
Long one for you tonight, but I have huge information in this short little video.
Let's get it.
Do what you want with the information. I'm not stating anything is fact here. I'm just going to share with you the information that was shared with me. And it's really crazy, but do your own research, make up your own minds, figure out what you think on your own. I'm not telling you what to think, believe, or any of that.
Your own thing.
Okay, so I had been talking to the person, the insider, who was giving me the information and gave it to me before. And this just is something I felt that I needed to share with you guys. Like I said, do what you want with the information. But I wrote everything down, and I'm going to give it to you. The transgressions of this community are hidden and held under lock and key. Now, Nick, AAA Nick, found that out when he accidentally got involved with this case.
Just listen.
There 100% was a tape from the tow truck that night. Nick did get a call to that car, and there was a video. AAA was called because the two people in the car didn't know about the car's problem with slipping out of gear. They couldn't figure out why the car wouldn't start, and they panicked because their job was to get the car into storage. By the time that Nick asked his boss about the tape, which was when he realized and he saw the flyer, like he had said, that he had been at her car. The tape had already been collected, and the boss had already been blackmailed into saying that no such tape ever existed, and in so also discrediting AAA Nick.
What they do when they manipulate you.
I mean, how would they explain? Now, this is a big one, guys. How would they explain a sheriff's son and a politician's granddaughter driving around in a missing 16-year-old's car? They couldn't let that tape.
Let it play out in your head. It's the information you heard today. Keep listening.
Get out. So immediately after the sheriff's son, now they did not specify the name of the sheriff, but after the sheriff's son got home and told his father about having to call AAA because they couldn't get the car started, the father immediately made a call to another member of the community, and they in turn went after the boss, Nick's boss, to get rid of the tape, to make sure that that tape never saw the day of light. After they tried to discredit him and his side of what happened, they threatened him into silence by threatening his family. That group, Adventures with Purpose, did come to help find Kiely, and Adventures with Purpose wasn't part of their plan, but they weren't honest to everyone either. They have a lot more footage, about 2 hours of underwater footage that shows every single inch of that car.
I believe it. Like what?
They found out who was involved, and that is why they disbanded and are now all afraid to speak. The community grooms kids in this community to follow only the rules and laws of their community and nothing else. It starts when they are little, with day camps that they use to groom children into becoming what they want them to be, teaching them the ways and the laws of the community. As they get a little bit older,
and with the way that I'm doing things. It's almost like some of these kids, and y'all can take it for what you want. For what you want. I find it odd that some of these kids, I'm not saying like Kylie, some of these people, talk about kids, grandkids, get raised by some people that aren't related. Kind of odd.
Tween years.
Kind of odd.
They use wilderness and wellness retreats.
But they do.
Where they do God only knows what
Listen, no.
to program these kids.
Let me rewind it.
And then he knows what and wellness retreat between like the community that they use to groom children into becoming what they want them to be, teaching them the ways and the laws of the community. As they get a little bit older, like tween years, they use wilderness and wellness retreats where they do God only knows what to program these kids. And then as they get older, they move into more intense programming when they get closer to actually.
Look, they do this with a lot of things. Keep paying attention. I'm gonna rewind a little bit.
Being able older, they move. And then as they get older, they move into more intense programming when they get closer to actually being able to become full-fledged community members.
Not all.
Every single one of them has to show commitment and loyalty to get full membership, just like Sam did to Kiely. She showed her loyalty to the community.
Remember that
those
little
that
necklace
do not
got,
accept it and those that go against it get dealt with just as they see fit. Just look at what they did to
almost look like a sheriff medallion. I don't know. It's weird. That little star, that little ribbon on it. Woo! That's spooky. Stop it, bro. Let me shut the door. Oh, she's dead. All right.
Nathaniel Kabakungan. He was a dealer, but everybody knew about it. He was the dealer for all of their teenagers' parties.
Why you got kids?
For all of the community children's parties. He was the dealer who brought the party favors. And he did show up that night. And he tried to step in and help Kiely. They couldn't have that. 4 days later, he's arrested and now is facing
what's going on with
15 years before he's even eligible for parole. So they dealt with him, didn't they?
One thing I would love to know is who gave Pap the idea to start swimming.
Now, that's just I had to get this out and share it with you guys. Like I said, do what you want with the information. Think what you will. I'm not stating any of this as fact. I'm simply sharing the information that was shared with me with you guys. Please, I definitely want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Please hit the thumbs up. Please sub to the channel. And please consider becoming a member. I mean, this, it just makes a lot of stuff make sense to me. But I want to hear what you guys think. So definitely let me know. I love you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Keep asking those hard questions. Keep spreading that light. And I will see you guys next time.
All right. So, this next video, I'll show you. I'm going to set this down because I want to just show you something else. So this is some of the flight paths. I'm sorry y'all can't see them, right? But these are the flight paths. Named some of them, where they came from, yada yada. We're gonna go back. But first, I want to show you. I don't know how. Oh, okay. So I was looking through like the Truckee Tahoe Airport 30 years, and I so happen to click on 2020. I know it's pretty small for a minute. But if you scroll on down and you go to page 4, you'll see the Act Now Airport Community Team meeting that was held on August 10th. I've yet to see any mention about Kiely or anything like that. I know I probably am talking far away, but my mic. But there is 2 dates on here. The Act Now, this is August 10th. And then CAP involved Kiely Rodney search, which is Civil Air Patrol. Okay, Civil Air Patrol is government. So, anyway, so you can see that they have the Tahoe Truckee Squadron, they have the Nevada Wing, they have seniors, they have the cadets, which we see in Kiely Rodney's story. There's a lot of kids at 13, 14, 15 are cadets, and they get their pilot license and all that stuff. Then you have Truckee Tahoe Airport, and then you have the aerospace. If you go between the Tahoe Truckee Squadron, like, check all these. This is all pretty cool. I will drop this down in chat. I got it. So, within it, yes, I downloaded it. I took screenshots. But I came across this in 734. Okay. I'm going to turn my microphone because y'all are probably going to get real pissed if I don't. This is the Truckee Civil Air Patrol and CAP planes from Bakersfield to Las Vegas. Look for Kiely Rodney. Y'all ever see this before? Bet you haven't, because this is all new to me. I just stumbled upon it. I really honestly did. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that scrolled in. Okay, so Civil Air Patrol, CAP, is in its 4th consecutive day of flying search and rescue, SAR, flying 36 sorties, flights to date. CAP has performed visual searches from Tahoe City to Sierraville, as well as collecting tens of thousands of low-level photos to be processed with sophisticated AI tools. Each day, CAP has had 3 or more aircraft flying. I like this sound of this. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all can hear just fine. Mic's good. Audio's good. I'm trying to talk towards my mic. I know my... you can just talk to my hand for a minute. I'm sorry. I see y'all, though. Many highly trained volunteers are involved in the search. Each plane has a crew of 3 to 4 people trained in visual and electronic search techniques. 1 and often 2 of the crew are search and rescue mission pilots, trained in low-level flying and the specialized requirements for flying in the steep mountains and Sierras. Y'all like this? I like it. I love him. Okay. Behind the frontline flight crews are many more volunteers. Incident commanders, air operations branch directors, mission planners, flight release officers, administrative staff, base and airborne radio operators, and photo and electronic forensic analysts. I like the sound of it. I really do. I like it. How about them FOIAs? You know, I bet y'all already get them FOIAs. One of the critical support functions is coordinating air assists in addition to CAP planes flying in the search area. Remember, it was closed off. Remember, you weren't in that time frame. You weren't allowed to fly drones. Nothing. Even if you were FAA certified, licensed to fly drones, there's a certain period of time you're not. Anyway, many other agencies, including Nevada County and Placer County sheriffs, are flying in the area. Mission staff work with all involved agencies to minimize risk to crews. The Tahoe Truckee air traffic controllers work hard. Those are other people that could honestly subpoena them to get their information. Just to confirm, because I mean, look at all of these agencies that have documented the flights alone. That's why I said, I don't care about Nick tow truck guy. I don't care about what these kids want to tell me as far as what happened that night. These people could do right here, the information that they have will tell you if Kiely Rodney's car was in the water before the 17th or if it was there on the 6th. FOIA. Okay? So CAP is an U.S. Air Force auxiliary unit. Aircraft are provided by the USAF, United States Air Force. CAP members are all civilian volunteers. Okay, so for more information, you visit tahoetruckee.cap.gov. Okay, I done checked that out. I was going through all kinds of stuff there, and then I started to see that they had recorded meetings. So they have one here, August 10th, the airport sustainability planning and annual budget process. Okay. Weird how they named it that, because when you Google it, that's not the name. So this is the airport community team meeting. Y'all can get nerdy with me. You can get comfy cozy in your bed. I'm going to listen to, because I think that's all I have. I read that. And then I just kept following links around between these two things here. And then I just found this airport community team meeting on August 8th, 2022. And I just kind of want to watch it. And because I'm keeping it small and my craft area bigger. So if y'all want to hang out, I'll keep reading chat. I think it's like 50 minutes or something like that. How long is it? Like an hour. Probably going to take me longer than that. But I'm just going to listen to this. I'll chit chat with y'all.
I may pause time to time just to make sure I'm looking at our invites list on the pop up and Zoom here to make sure I'm getting people in the room.
I only listened to like maybe the first 5 minutes, and I was like,
Rob Etnier, General Manager of the airport here, Truckee Tahoe Airport District. And I'd like to welcome you all. I see some familiar faces.
I just want to see names. I just want to see if they. Oh, I gotta move the. Let me do this. Move this out. Just for you. Out. And then this. And I'll make it bigger. So anybody wants to zoom in on it or. I'm gonna smoke some green, and I'm gonna craft and listen to this thingy. Y'all can watch me as I craft and chat, and I will.
So thank you for taking time tonight to talk a little bit about airport community team topic of airport sustainability planning.
Y'all can hear good?
And any questions right out of the gate?
Yep.
I'll just open it up before I begin walking through a series of slides talking about sustainability planning related to the airport district. And then I'll take questions at the end as well. And lastly, close it out by asking and talking about topics for next month's meeting. We've got an hour scheduled here. And I think my slides will probably take 15 minutes or so, maybe 20 if I talk really slow.
Oh, yay.
And then I'll open up for questions. So if there's any leading questions, again, I'll take them right now. If not, I'll dive right in. All right, let's check the list of folks again real quick.
I hope y'all can see that.
Everybody hear me okay? Volume's good?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Bruh. What's going on? What?
So let's just jump right into airport
Good
sustainability,
governance,
what
prosperity,
sustainability
health,
is, why we're
society,
talking about it,
environment.
what it's all about, why are airports talking about sustainability,
I think so.
what does it have to do with our annual budget, what is triple bottom line that was in the lead-in for today's topic, what's airport
You want me to zoom in on that,
like,
bro?
how does it fit in with the land, the special districts, I call it here, around the Truckee, North Iowa area, and isn't sustainability something the nonprofits are doing? Why is the airport talking about this? And to me, this sustainability topic fits in this big circular diagram you see on the side here. And it's really about the quality of life that we like to enjoy here in the North Lake Tahoe area. And it's composed of a lot of different things here. And I won't talk about each of these quadrants, but this is just the way I think about sustainability. And think about not just a stovepipe budget process for an airport district, but really how that integrates into a way of thinking about the airport district in harmony with its community here in the airport district. You've seen this slide before. The airport district boundaries are quite sizable. The footprint itself, we think a lot about infrastructure here at the airport, the geography it covers and represents.
Best I could do for Guy.
Elected board
I got you.
I
got
district.
you. That's why I like
beyond
OBS.
Just the runway itself and the operations at the airport or FBO services. We have our annual budget, which is something that I just want to cover real quick here. And that is something that we think about and we publish annually coming up here in the next few months. We'll begin talking about the 2023 budget. The numbers I'm sharing today are the current 2022 budget. And it shows first our revenues, then I'll talk about our expenses next. And it shows really that the main sources of revenue clearly come from our airside operations or FBO services, fixed base operations services out here on the ramp in the way of fueling.
Don't nerd out.
And folks coming and going and getting services from aircraft. It comes from our property tax base of revenue. And of course, we have several facilities we rent and lease.
If my light hums, I'm sorry. It's annoying.
Whether it's hangars or warehouse, business space, the deli operation here in the main terminal building. And then we get some grant revenue from the FAA, which varies year to year. So these are our main sources of revenue coming in here. And then our 2022 budget talks a little bit about how we plan to spend that money throughout the year. And it really is, as you look at it, it is a very, we're a government organization here. We're a California Airport Special District. We're not a for-profit operation. We're not a nonprofit. We're a government entity that has a mission and a role that I'll talk about in a minute, but it really is a service organization. And certainly with service organizations, one of the biggest expenses you typically have is people. And that's payroll, that's people, that's operating cost, that's cost of goods, all these big pieces here of our expenses every year. And of course, we do a variety of things with repair and maintenance, staffing an air traffic control tower here, which is unique for this airport district, unlike several other similar size general aviation airports that do not have a control tower. We have a very strong community agency partnership here as part of our annual budget. 8% of our expenses go to working with a variety of community entities in different configurations to support things that aren't necessarily directly associated with airfield operations, but are tied to our mission here at the airport. So these are the main ways we spend our operating budget every year. What's not in here that you see is our capital projects, our long-term plans to spend, and our long-term plans to save towards spending for capital infrastructure. Things are going to last longer. They cost more than $2,000 and last longer than 2 years, essentially. Facilities is the way I typically think about this. Nope, just slide behind there. Sorry about that. There are expenses there I was talking about. Our mission here at the airport, you've seen many times, we begin our board meetings every month with the mission statement. It's on the wall. It's on most of our core documents that help guide what we do here. What I've done here is color-coded our mission statement here a little bit and try to tie it over here to this airport sustainability planning model that has 4 quadrants. And this is how I think about going into the budget process this year, not in just a revenue and expense methodology that I just covered in those 2 pie charts, but really thinking about how we plan for making money, essentially, where our revenue is coming from, and how we're expending money around these 4 quadrants, whether it's operating efficiency, the economic viability of this organization, what we're looking at for natural resource conservation, and of course, our social responsibility to the greater community in this North Lake Tahoe area. So as we think about those different quadrants, and I think about the budget process, and we think about expending money in these 2 green and blue buckets here on both natural resources planning, how we're impacting the environment here, and also on our social responsibility. I think about where that money is going to come from. You know, I talked about our sources of revenue. And as we spend on these categories, and certainly as we spend on gaining operational efficiencies and investing in our infrastructure here, there's a whole mix of imbalance here that we look at as part of our annual budget process, taking into account a concept or a broad view of the airport spending, not just in expenses, but in kind of a sustainability methodology. And we inform that methodology with our mission, strategic goals that we're constantly working on and updating. And of course, we have our annual operations that have measurable results, and we produce an outcome on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis throughout the fiscal year as part of our fiscal year budget going forward. Ideally, we want to build that budget in the black and not the red. Currently, our budget is built at a loss this year. And I think going forward, we really need to think about these operational efficiencies and what we're doing here on our FBO operations, where we're spending money, and also how much money we're saving and reinvesting in infrastructure here. Because there's not any magic money here, right? No one's writing us free checks here. So it's either we're being more efficient with the money we have, or we're gaining more money through our operations and the fees that we're charging across those line items that we do charge. And then we're saving appropriately to reinvest in our infrastructure here. And I'll talk about each of these 4 buckets or these categories in sustainability planning that I talked about a minute ago. Of course, all of our plans and procedures here at the airport are informed by a number of core documents and planning tools that aren't new to this airport, but this is the way I look at things as part of our annual budget process, as being a special airport district here in California, using accrual accounting, going through a budget process, and having a master fee schedule that's informed by a number of studies that we've had here in the recent past that help guide us on where we're going. So I'm going to walk through those 4 quadrants here with everybody, and first talk about some observations I see here going into just being a few months on the job here, going into a new fiscal year planning cycle in the budget. And some things jump out at me right away of areas that we could focus on around this airport sustainability model, thinking about it holistically of what we're doing here. We sell a lot of jet fuel here. It was an important source of revenue. Probably have noticed on the other pie chart earlier. One of the things that we can be thinking more about here is what percentage of sustainable aviation fuel that we're offering here as a service. We've recently have moved from 10% sustainable aviation fuel as an overall percentage of our Jet A fuel offered here to up to 25% for the remainder of the year being sustainable aviation fuel. And that just goes to thinking about, what we're providing, the fee that we're charging for it, and does it fit with our overall desires in our mission statement to be good stewards of what we've been charged with here as an airport. We are looking at increasing revenue here with instituting a landing fee. There hasn't been a landing fee here in the past.
I'm working with
it's very common for almost every similar general aviation airport to be charging a landing fee. And this is for our non-local residents here that come and go out of this airport. We have a transient use fee, and that's more what would be called anywhere else a ramp fee for services the fixed base operation is providing here for folks that pull up on the ramp and park in one of these circles and need fuel and need a variety of different types of services provided by our team here, our operation maintenance team here. For economic infrastructure, we should be looking at what our long-term hangar construction plan is here and what that wait list looks like currently and what is the viability of our long-term savings plan towards addressing the demand that is out there for various size additional hangars. This is something that we should have a definitive schedule going forward on deciding what we want to build and saving money towards building that, along with also continuing to maintain our existing hangars at a high level and looking at some point we can maintain hangars forever, or maybe it's appropriate at certain times to replace entire hangar rows with a brand new hangar row. So those are things we should have definitive plans for. Market fee schedule, their master fee schedule, or market rates.
Talk about Kiely.
I look at this. This has been a subject it's been a topic for some time here around the airport district. I think about it in terms of what many folks call the truckee way, and that's there shouldn't be surprises when it comes time to raising fees. There should be a lot of conversation around that with the people that it's impacting, and those things.
The name of that place, what he said, followed by it. Ramming or something.
Master fee schedule or market rates. I look at this. This has been a subject it's been a topic for some time here around the airport district. I think about it in terms of what many folks call the truckee way, and that's there shouldn't be surprises when it comes time to raising fees. There should be a lot of conversation around that with the people that it's impacting, and those things should be phased in over time, in my opinion, and on our local region here. We think about our airport district, and those are things we should be communicating, talking about, and phasing in as appropriate, and not perhaps doing things that are a surprise to all our customers here.
Right.
Saving for the future. Right now, we have about 10 and 20 million, depending on how you look at it, reserves in the bank.
Already have.
I think if we look.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Look, I've been watching videos and stuff on how they're doing some of this stuff. And it all the things he's doing is complaining because nothing's being done with what they're
look at the reasonable projects that have been discussed in the past here. Our savings should be probably around this 40 to 50 million range. If we want to, over the next 5 years or so, begin getting after addressing hangar capacity, looking at new configurations of our EAA facility, how we currently have our Civil Air Patrol situated and how we would ideally like to have them situated. And again, thinking back to our mission statement, we talk about strong facilities, high quality services and facilities. That takes money to invest in those. And that's clearly something our mission statement lays out as something that's important to us here. So that's something we should take very seriously in what we're saving towards and what we're investing into. Operating efficiencies, there are a number of areas here that I believe will help move us from the red into the black. And that has to do with how much money we're spending on a variety of things. We have a lot of studies here, how frequently we update those studies, how efficiently we move through studies in time and space, and how they inform us to what we can actually put in place and not just put on the shelf, I think is critical. There are simple things like some internal automation that we looked at, the board just approved last month, kind of a customer relations management software system. Go Civics is something we can integrate from a paper-based system here for work orders, for maintenance work orders, internal tracking, customer engagement with our hangar attendants principally, but also the district at large. These are things, there's great systems in place that we're going to move to in a more automated sense. So we're spending less time and manpower trying to walk through a pen and paper drill on long-term planning. Capital investments, certainly things like our long-term parking lot that we have here that we're manually looking after on a daily basis. That takes hours of our operation and maintenance team. I think any similar size airport, you'd find most all of those long-term parking type situations are personalist and automated. And that's something I think we should be looking at here to refocus our manpower on other things that are more directly associated with maintenance and FBO operations here. There's a real cost of normal maintenance. Sometimes I think we plan in budget for this much maintenance throughout the year based on schedules of business. We get less done. The maintenance we probably need to be doing on a regular basis is probably much larger than even what we're budgeting. I'm just going to pause for a minute to admit some folks here into the meeting. And then welcome for those folks just joining us. We're moving through operational aspects of efficiency in our sustainability airport planning. So there's a real cost of normal maintenance, and I think focusing our operation maintenance staff and freeing them up from I'll call it busy work to some degree to more efficient work on doing maintenance and servicing our FBO customers is critical. And there's some simple automation we can put in place here, like the long-term parking situation that will prove dividends for us in our efficiencies here. Resource conservation. This is an area that I've talked about a little bit earlier in other venues. Moving from our Jet A 10% allocation to 25% Jet A sustainable aviation fuel for the rest of this year. And then really looking at the beginning of the year, next year, working with our supply chain vendors to moving up to 50% sustainable aviation fuel mixed in with our regular aviation fuel. Just it seems like the responsible thing to do. I think the industry at large is moving in this direction. I think this is an area where we should be on the cutting edge of leading it as much as our supply chain can provide us the level of quantity that we need to support our operations here on a regular basis. There isn't a similar product on the 100 low lead fuel, but that's, who knows what the future will bring as additional studies continue to look at that product out there in the world. There are other areas that we're exploring and working with partners here, from the fire district to the town of Truckee to the public utility district, in the way of bioenergy plant, perhaps using some of the woody material, the biomass coming out of the forest, and generating power, and perhaps heat, hydronic heat for part of the airport ramp is something that we are looking at for the future. Looking at our electric vehicles, we did a greenhouse a gas study here not long ago that called out a lot of areas that we could be improving in, and operationalizing those is something at the forefront of my thought process as we look at the budget process for next year, and moving some of our light vehicle fleet as much as possible and as quickly as possible into more of an electric vehicle fleet. I think is moves us further along that line of sustainability and conservation, resource conservation. Of course, one of the biggest threats to our community here is fire and wildfire. That's the subject of recent conversation in Nevada County and Measure T. The airport district owns about 1,400 acres, referred to as a Wattle Ranch, which is an area that we maintain at our cost, doing a variety of forest management work. This is something that should continue to be a large investment for us. It's part of the area in the district here that is critical to help create essentially a large fire break, not a clear-cut break, but a healthy forest maintained area to help not allow wildfires that may threaten this area to burn through as quickly through this part of the district at least. So we take that land management very seriously. Supply chain, really looking at as much as possible. You know, I call it it's often referred to as there's no way. When you throw something away, it doesn't really go away, it goes somewhere. And so when we think about sourcing our material for internal office supplies or things in our fixed base operation here, or even working with our partners in our facilities and things that we offer here, really thinking about what the supply chain behind those products or even the packaging of those products really is, and thinking about it as much in a closed loop mindset as possible. I think about our FBO services also in our ground power, in our GPU power or ground power units that we provide to aircraft here on our ramp, and really how we can increase the utilization of that so aircraft aren't turning their engines or running their APUs just for simple cooling, and really focusing on this next year's budget with our FBO operations on how we can engage those customers that are on our ramp to provide them access to our ground power, and even looking towards the future if it makes sense to build in more ground power rather than the mobile ground power units that we have. Last quadrant here on this 4-part sustainability planning model that I'm talking about here is the social responsibility of the airport district for our larger community here. And it really looks at some of the larger programs we have here funding wise in our budget process. And that's our Fly Quiet programs, encouraging our local pilot community and others to come and go out of this airport in times of the day that has the least impact on our community, and also on the routes that has the least impact on our community. And that's part of the responsibility this district has engaged in for some time now, investing in a temporary air traffic control tower here that's manned in a contract fashion with air traffic controllers. That is a big piece, a big cost of, I think, the district's commitment and social responsibility to the district here, and investing in something that really makes a difference in people's quality of life here. There are some areas I think are opportunities to think about more broadly going forward. You remember earlier in our expense category in our slides, we had something that we spend money on in the budget process every year that looks like community agency partnerships, $1.3 million, $1.4 million, 8% of our budget. A lot of this spending is through agency partnerships, now working with the Community Foundation to help vet applicants that are partnered with other publicly elected board entities. A lot of this giving ideally is connected to the airport district's mission. A lot of it, in my mind, is kind of one-off giving, year-to-year giving. And I think about the tie to financial resources for an airport district. It's a public airport district, not a private entity. And I think about how we could do this maybe a little differently in the long term, and how we can invest in infrastructure for the community that would be long sustaining for the community. I think about past topics that were talked about in this community about a nonprofit center here, and even using some of the airport district land that's adjacent to our air operations area here, but not air adjacent, near the Clear Capitol building, if you're familiar with that, on our airport land here, that perhaps there's room for a community conversation around, does it make sense to build infrastructure here for our nonprofit community to help them in a 20, 30-year horizon, as opposed to a year-to-year kind of thought process of just individually giving to a variety of nonprofits. So that's one thing I think about in social responsibility.
So what I'm doing here is I'm taking, you know, like the little Christmas houses and stuff. I feel there's not enough, I don't know, little haunted houses that go too. So, like, I left all the bulb stuff in, but I added like those here. I added boards to the windows. Add that back to the little skull, and then I started like cemetery, and then I'm gonna take and make a little diorama of like the cemetery, and then I'll put a light bulb back in one. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm listening to this bullshit. My volume is low and cutting out. It's because I keep turning my head. I don't have a microphone right in front of my face. That's why I just been watching stuff instead of, because the only way that I could talk to you is if I'm facing my microphone. I can't put it in my face while I'm got this camera and all my stuff. All right, cool. That's what's up. But yeah, that's why I'm just listening to this. I can't help myself. Yeah, I got. Come on.
And I'll take questions in just a minute. And then when I think about rolling transportation here, we're in the transportation business at the airport district. I think we should be constantly revisiting investments that we have partnered with different organizations like TART, and think about new ways of transportation that are being tested in the community and have been tested in other communities, like the TART Connect that's been rolled out this summer, which is a direct passenger, much like an Uber or a Lyft type of service for this community that's free, that's paid for by a variety of partners in the community, that is more directly responsive to the way people move around, that may be different than a set large bus schedule that we traditionally have operating.
Why do I? What? Is that somebody's fucking bird?
And let me pause there and take questions from the community. And thank you for your time and attention.
Something's happening.
You can either raise your hand digitally, or if you're on screen and I see a hand in the air, I'm happy to take comments one by one. Todd, yes, please.
Is that a bird?
Hi. Hey, Rob. Thanks for that information. There's a lot going on there. And when I think about having all of this on my to-do list at work, which I've been there
remember
quite often, it's
that this is
task.
from
so thanks for
August
covering all that.
10th, 2020.
I do have a specific question and then I think a comment.
Okay.
So question on what you talked about, the landing fees. I've always heard those are standard too, and I never bothered to even ask the question. So thanks for giving me that information. So on the touch and goes, one of the things that we have a big impact on, especially Saturday mornings, there's some planes that just circle and circle. Do they, under this new fee, do they pay for that?
He didn't even say Kiely's name.
And what's very typical with landing fees at most similar airports to us.
Did I hear that right?
The landing fee
act on, especially Saturday morning, what you talked about,
Saturday
the
morning
landing fees. I've always heard those are standard too, and I never bothered to even ask the question. So thanks for giving me that information. So on the touch and goes, you know, one of the things that we have a big impact on, especially Saturday mornings, there's some planes that just circle and circle. Do they, under this new fee, do they pay for that?
What we're looking at is, and what's very typical with landing fees at most similar airports to us is the landing fee would be exempt for those that are locally based here at the airport that are already paying a variety of other taxes here, and that are locally based essentially. The landing fee is below a certain weight category is typically, we're looking around 5,500 pounds or locally based would not pay a landing fee. And that's very common in the industry. So it's really a charge that folks that are externally coming in and out of our airport that have an impact on our infrastructure here that's not funded through FAA funding. Of course, anytime we have an FAA funded project on the air, redoing a runway or a taxiway, the infrastructure here is by and large funded through, our aviation infrastructure is funded through grant funding, but we have to partner with that, and we have to come up with some of the money, around 10% or so, depending on the project. And so we do have a regular cost, particularly in pavement management, and the landing fee is imposed at airports like ours, the way we look at it, in order to recapture the cost of maintaining the infrastructure for the aviation community. And right now that our cost allocation studies and our pavement management studies from the past have that around about $1 million to a year is what we're trying to recapture. And typically that would be charged to non-local planes.
Okay, so they're basically getting a freebie. I mean, to put it in a simple sense, they're getting to use the airport. I've looked at getting my license seriously twice, and I see a lot of expense associated with that, but it all goes to the trainer. And I know that you have rental planes there. Do you get a source of income from the training and the people using the airport?
Sure. So I wouldn't call it a freebie at all. Any aircraft that is stationed based out of this airport is paying a number of fees typically. If they're tied down at our tie downs here, they're paying fees for that, whether it's overnight or for a month. If they're in a hangar, they're renting a hangar space from us. If they're based here in this jurisdiction, there are other use fees essentially to the county that they're paying as well for their value of their aircraft that's registered here. So there are a number of fees those folks are paying.
But yeah, on
this, anybody that's running a commercial operation out of this airport has to be licensed.
So like on all of this, I added like the roof on it to cover like the snow up. I added like the frost, the grass, the tree was there. And then yeah, at the very top of this okay, but yeah, that's what
I'm be permitted through the airport district, and there's fees associated with that. They're paying the airport district.
Okay, so again, no, they're paying no more than anybody else who has an airplane here, who would be storing it here, or any of those things that you mentioned. That's where I see that, you know, it's somebody getting a great benefit provided by the community for, we'll say well, I'll stop there.
No, I wouldn't call it free at all. And I think you're mixing a little apples and oranges here. Buddy. People that are operating a commercial operating permit here to do pilot training have to be licensed with the airport district there is significant fees associated with those licenses, and the rates they charge to their students to do those pilot instruction training
Yeah, they're probably friends.
represents the cost they incur with operating a business at this airport district and paying fees to the airport district, which are not light, I would say.
I understand. So specifically, I'm talking about if they're flying around and doing the touch and goes, something that generates a lot of, just focus on noise for the community, as compared to somebody who is coming in and out of here. Somebody who's coming in and out once is paying. Somebody who is flying in circles for 10 laps is not. That's where I'm focusing.
Oh.
Yeah, they're paying a different fee. They're paying a different fee, right?
Okay.
You're right, your voice cracked.
They're paying as local residents here, and they're your neighbors, to be honest. You're within the district.
They live right around the corner from me. Right. I know a number of the people. Yep. So, yep, I understand. So then the next is a comment on cost of goods sold. And this is where, I admit I am not an expert on your budget, and I am, fairly new to really digging into the details. One of the perceptions that I have from watching the interactions, and then I know we went very quickly through your expenses slide, but I saw noted down 22% of an administration and other expenses that go into that, 26% payroll. I work in a very labor intensive business where, it's very common to have 55% plus of your total revenue or your total expenses go to your people fees.
Right.
And looking at what it costs to provide what you all do, part of, again, I'm sorry, for what I do, I take and do a lot of costing in the healthcare industry. And I have to account for every dollar, whether it's me as a consultant, the CEO, or the doctor actually physically hands-on doing the care. Every dollar goes onto that procedure so that we truly understand the cost of our services. Do you guys follow a similar methodology there, where you actually know your specific administrative and overhead components of the cost of what's provided?
Yes, we do, absolutely. And of course, at some point, developing those costs, you have to draw a line somewhere, right? There's no one perfect cost that captures every situation, but at least you establish a baseline on what the cost should be. And it's not often, I know in the healthcare industry, you don't necessarily charge those all the time. There's all kinds of discounts that take place in a variety of situations. So we do inform ourselves here with cost allocation studies. And we do look at a number of different scenarios in those studies that are done by outside consultants that specialize in that, and to help us understand what, as you say, the true cost of providing the variety of services we provide, whether that's in our fixed base operation here or in our maintenance, to help us inform what charges that we're charging to our customers, and how much that we're recouping to make sure that we're covering our cost as appropriate in the market. But like anything, sometimes you have lost leaders, and sometimes you have things that you charge for that are your gravy, essentially, that you make a lot of money on. And certainly that's the case here across the variety of things that we're talking about the airport, right? And collect fees on.
Feels weird.
So yes, we do have a variety of professional studies that are done by outside consultants to help inform us about different perspectives on what our true costs are of providing a variety of things.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Anybody else questions? Electronic hands or visual or comment? David, yes, please.
Hey, thanks, Rob. I just wanted to see if I could shed some additional clarity on what Todd's first question was, because I think that he was going for something that was that was actually pretty simple to explain. Todd, when somebody, whether or not the aircraft is based at Truckee, we're a public use airport, which means that a pilot from Missouri could fly here and start doing laps around our airport, one of our runways, at 4 o'clock in the morning, and do that continuously until the tanks ran dry, and we can't stop that. We also can't charge for that. It is analogous to somebody getting on Interstate 80 and driving back and forth from Reno as many times as they want, and they will not be charged for that either, for largely the same reasons there.
What about government?
So, well, if we've got aircraft that are based here, as Rob was saying, there is some indirect or direct costs for storage of the aircraft and that sort of thing, but there is not a direct cost associated with using the runways for practice, and that's most likely what is going on there if it's training or currency. So it might not involve a flight instructor at all. So what Rob was referring to in the commercial certificates, there might or might not be a flight instructor on there. But I think the most important thing to recognize is that we can't stop that. We can't charge for that. So that is really something that they are legally entitled to do because we're a public use facility.
Thanks, David. Now that makes sense.
Yeah, thank
you. Yep.
And if I could add on to that, one of the things that we ask our pilots that come here to do touch and goes is that when you're able, we like that you switch runways every few laps. So if you do want to come and do 10 laps, ideally you do that in the kind of earlier part of the day when the winds and the traffic will allow you to switch runways. If you come in the afternoon to do that, you're likely to end up on the same runway for the whole time. So all of our flight instructors that are based here are aware of that, and they teach that to their students. And then often when there's a pilot that's not familiar, who does do repetitive laps on the same runway when they had the option, that's something I'll try to talk to a pilot about. And be like, you might not be aware of this, but we do like to see you switch runways when you can. But sometimes there's aside from weather, there's also reasons why that might not be very safe for air traffic point of view. Like our controllers have told me, even though we do encourage departures off runway 2 when winds are calm, when there's glider activity, launching gliders off of 2-0, they sometimes aren't the happiest to have people departing on 2. So switching to that runway while there's glider activity in that area is also one reason why you might see more use of the same runway, or 2-9 to be specific. So
thanks, David. And I know you guys do try and control that. So I think I would, note this as, I'm a believer in paying for what I use. And if it's something like where somebody's flying in from Missouri and doing 12 laps and taking off again, and there's no flight instructor, yeah, I'd like to see us be able to charge them a couple $100 just so they think about it the next time. But, I hear you.
Yeah, I think it fits with David Diamond's analogy of driving on the freeway. It's great if there's a few less cars sometimes when I'm trying to get somewhere, but for most freeways, not regulated.
Hey, Rob, I got a quick question for you.
Yep.
On the slide you had of the revenue sources, saw a sliver in there of rental car revenue. I imagine that's some kind of like profit sharing. Can you elaborate on where our rental car income comes from?
Let's see. Around, and I see Kelly Wu on there. She might.
Yeah, I think I saw Kelly. She might
be able
to jump right on that.
Share back that screen again.
Hi.
Hey, Kelly.
That is car rental revenue from Go Rentals And who's left with us now? Enterprise.
Enterprise.
Yep. So that's the commissions that we make from them.
And is that like
operating on the airport here on our property in one of our?
Is that's not like just their lease revenue?
No, it's actual commission.
So like per rental, there's a commission that the airport receives. Is that right?
Correct.
I think I recall learning about that when I took the ACE finance course, but a couple years ago now. I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah, the budget for 2022 might have been a little bit higher because that was
they need to get on with
before when we weren't sure what was going to happen with Hertz.
Any other questions from the audience? If not, I'm happy to take suggestions for next month's meeting, but David, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a thought, Rob, because I mean, I know obviously we've got some staff here and folks who know our operations. There's a few people here whose names I actually don't recognize. I'm curious to ask the folks who are on this call if they learned anything from the presentation that they did anything surprise them, or did they understand all of this before, or are they still unclear on how some of that stuff with regard to our finances and such work. And the other thing I'd like to ask is what their opinions are on the sustainable aviation fuel. I think I'm personally really happy that we're moving in this direction. But I'd like to know what people think of that. Did you learn anything about our finances, and what do you think about the sustainability fuel thing or anything like that?
Is that it?
And while folks are thinking about that, if folks do want to reply, part of what I think about in this airport sustainability model coming in here as the new person is, I hear a lot of two camps conversation. One is all about the community, no noise, and the other one is, hey, we need more airport infrastructure here. What are you doing for the pilots? And when you have two different, strong, essentially polar opposite positions, I just want to share with everybody is I don't think about it in those terms. And that's why I think about it in terms of airport sustainability. And this is a larger community perspective about what the airport district's mission and how it aligns with our future planning. And it's not just about one or the other. It's about how this works in harmony with each other.
Yeah, I noticed mine
as a district and an organization here, a public organization.
By anything I stream here, it's great to rumble.
So just a couple comments. First to what David said, we're all for sustainable fuel, and that's really the direction that the world is going, recognizing that we have limited resources in some manner. That's good. One thing about the presentation I did like hearing is you, Rob, talking about looking at the reserves for future expenditures. I remember one meeting where we were going over the budget, and one of the questions from, I believe it was Mary, related to a line item where there was supposed to be withholdings having been in the budget for some time, and yet they were not. And it showed a lack of fiscal responsibility to me. And not planning for the future when it had been so clearly articulated. It had even been put in the budget, but it hadn't been funded. So I'm really glad to hear you calling out that you're recognizing those expenses. And then I do have one other discussion point, but it's off the main topic. So at any point I can jump on that, just let me know.
Patty, you had a comment or a question?
Oh, this is Bob.
I'll come back to you, Todd.
That's okay.
Sorry, Bob.
So for future meetings, over the years, I've asked for an explanation of the CLUP, how building codes change as you get closer and closer to the airport. I think it's called the CLUP, something like that. So anyway, it doesn't have to be the next one, but I'd like to have that on the list. I'd like to learn more about that, how that works, and explanation of it.
Bob, one of my favorite topics, and you missed it 2 months ago when we talked about it.
Oh, okay.
I believe the recording's on there.
I thought I called out all of them. So anyway.
Yeah. But I'm sure it'll cycle around back again.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. But if you want to meet, I'm happy to talk to you about it offline and discuss it some more.
Is that it?
David?
I thought that's stuff.
I have a somewhat hypothetical question for either for you, or I also see a couple folks on here that are either pilots themselves or related. Some thoughts on the future of electric aircraft that is on the horizon in multiple formats, and I'd like to see what people's thoughts are about that, including the Chuckytown Airport District.
Yeah, I would. My brief comment is it is cutting edge still, I would say, and there are a few areas that are exploring aircraft that have a capacity and a battery life and an appropriate size weight that will get them in the air for a period of time. I think most of the testing I see happening right now in prototypes is done at a much lower altitude and in very different conditions. But I think there is clearly a future there that aviation industry is pursuing.
Yeah, aside from the aircraft themselves, at least on the there's an organization that's recruiting right now for our director of aviation, and that company also has a whole list of different positions they're recruiting for over the country, and one of them is even a person that's going to be dispatched to Texas, Dallas, I think, to help get the infrastructure going for their electric VTOLs facility. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's not just the aircraft manufacturers that are cranking these out and trying to get approved, but also the infrastructure is a big part of making it all work. Yeah. Right. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that. Thanks. David Diamond, your hand's still up.
Yeah, I wanted to actually comment on that. And Jessica, don't go away in the middle of my comment in case you're thinking about going away, because I'm going to ask you a question. The electric question is actually interesting because it's related to two things that we've talked about here. One is when Rob was talking about the decisions that need to be made with regard to the construction of hangars. This was before Rob was here. Part of the discussion that we had about that was people would come and say, well, we need to build more hangars. And it was, I think, smart of us to recognize that one of the questions that we had to answer was, what does a hangar look like for the next 50 years? Because the hangars that we've got now were built a long time ago. And if we're building anything new, we have to think about what aircraft will be using these. Will they be electric aircraft? Do we need to have solar facilities on the roof to power the aircraft? Do we need to do something else within the electrical system of the hangar to specifically facilitate that kind of aircraft? Even the footprint of an aircraft, would we be rotorcraft, or would we continue to be the fixed wing? We have seen an evolution even recently, maybe I would say recently, within the last decade and a half, where the wingspans of smaller aircraft are getting larger than the hangars that we have available in our smallest class. Like what will fit a Cessna or a Piper, a Cirrus won't fit in there because it's got a larger wingspan. So there were a lot of decisions that had to be made about what a hangar will look like, or the need for a hangar will look like in the decades coming up. And electric was part of that. Then this is the question I've got, Jessica, if you're listening. I think that the first application for electric aircraft at an airport like ours will be for training, because they're not super long distance aircraft. So for local things and for pattern work, as Todd was talking about before, There could be some noise reduction benefit from that, although we do have to recognize that the speed of a prop, and especially when prop going supersonic at its tips, can generate a lot of the annoyance that you hear from an airplane, even in some cases more so than an engine. But Jessica, what do you think as somebody who runs a training facility? Are the electric aircraft becoming something that is viable for what your students are doing?
Where did I?
So, well, I'll correct you a little bit. Sierra Aero, we have one rental aircraft. We actually don't have any instructors that work for us, but we do supply the aircraft to local students. We have seriously talked about what that would look like in the future. We have looked into electrical planes. I actually had meetings with Hardy and Kevin about this last year, and we're looking at other high altitude airports that are trying out some electric plane. I think the biggest challenge is if a student is learning in a plane like that, a lot of the people that are learning how to fly in Truckee are going commercial, right? They want to fly, they want to be the people that fly you on American Airlines later or something like that, or they want to go military. And those planes are then so very different from what they would be learning to fly in. So I think that's the biggest hurdle right now. It's still very, very new to use electric planes as trainers, but it's definitely coming. But I mean, at this point where we're seeing the market going still, I mean, I think Cirrus churned out like 450 planes last year, which is crazy. Those are definitely the small piston planes that are selling. So we're seeing more training geared towards those kind of planes. Not so much electric, but it's definitely something we're keeping an eye on, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jessica.
That was weird.
Todd, you had one more comment you wanted to say, maybe on a different subject?
Yeah, it's a question. I was just today earlier looking over the safety gap analysis back from before you started. It was back in January. And one of the things that I experienced here in my neighborhood was the crash. I think we know a few details about what happened. But are we ever going to see a final report, in your opinion, or is this one of those
the fight
things
boys? What crash?
that,
what crash? A plane crash?
will
What
be
kind of
dealt
crash?
with
I'm excited.
behind the public's view or out of the public's view? What's your
When they had the
experience on
air show
that?
crash.
The National Transportation Safety Board will produce a definitive report. There is some preliminary stuff that has come out in the way of the voice recorder transcript.
Y'all get that yet?
Typically, what I understand, it's about a year after an accident is when these reports come out. We're just around that time
Well,
frame.
we understood it.
I would expect a larger report with some observations and conclusions to come out here before long. So that should be available.
The voice recorder transcript, was that the pilot to the tower or in the cockpit itself?
Both.
Todd, I can send you a.
Yeah, go ahead, Vicky. You read it.
Sorry, Rob. I can send you a link to the most recent updates on that by NTSB. It's a really thorough packet of information right now. That's pretty interesting to read.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, great. Anybody else have comments? David Diamond had a couple of questions. If anybody else had feedback on those, or if you had recommendations for future topics, or even feedback on today's discussion, I welcome that. I can be reached online through our website, and certainly here at the district offices in person. Happy to have it.
Right. Cool. Daddy.
I'll gavel us in with the
They're still talking.
invisible hammer and gavel, and welcome you all to this meeting of the community team. And I would like to introduce David Love, for those who don't know him, who is here with us tonight from our Air Show Committee. And he has been kind enough to not only offer his time to help lead the Air Show Committee and all of our planning efforts in organization, which is considerable given the size of volunteered staff that he is coordinating, and working with airport staff as well to bring together a fairly large event for the Truckee Tahoe community in the way of our air show. So without further ado, David, I will turn the speaking portion over to you to share a little bit more about your team and the events ahead here in just a few weeks.
Great. Hit my button here so I can share.
All right, they're boring.
That's interesting.
Oh, this pretty. All right. Now. All right. I'll drop them. If I slow motion. Ooh. Ooh. All right. Ready? Oh wait. Damn. Nope, and you're there. Y'all see that? Y'all see what? That would what you have to understand is a lot of these helicopters over there were military. Federal. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about the technology? This needs to be back. Check it out yourself. Your map. This is. Hey, big check by the. Hey. If I see where they went, they don't want to be in on this shit. $5,000. Sheesh. Oh, man. What date is this? They Kiely Rodney's car with all of legitimate. Like why I have to play music. I have to rap. I have to put my soul and my spirits, my mental, my sanity, all of that. Because diving into shit and putting things together and then watching it kind of makes me more aware of that. We're slacking! Whoa. I'm just gonna put something. I know it's because I'm not talking at my mic. That's why. When I face away or I face over there, it's made. Like I can turn it. That way you guys. That make it any better. That's. I see what you're saying. No, there's not a limiter on it. If you did, here, one more. How about that? Nothing. No. I need these on. How about that? That's the best I could do. I'm sorry. Or I had to just keep talking here. I'm sorry. But if y'all want to, I will go. If you guys just want bullshit tonight, because I'm going to be up for, honestly, it's like 2 to 3 more hours. Just crap. That's legitimately, and I want to talk about Kiely and watch some Kiely shit. So I'm just going to go over to StreamYard. If you guys want to bullshit with me while I make some booze and get my little diorama set up. I don't care. Look, I might put these out year round because I just really like Halloween spooky stuff. People could judge me all they want, but it's my house. You don't live here. What about you? You feel me? So, if I go over to StreamYard, you want to get up on, you want to come chat with me, mouth to mouth? Do you want to? I'll let you up. I'll move over to StreamYard. That way I could just keep Kiely stuff there. And then just like our, mess around stuff. I would prefer to be its own thing. So that's what I'm going to do. I will close off of It's okay. It's okay. Baths are important. I need one too. I feel dirty as hell. But yeah, I'll jump over to StreamYard if anybody wants to hop up on panel. I don't know. I'll name it bullshit. Okay, that's what we'll do. All right, let me end this and I'll start a new stream. That way. Shut the fuck up. All right.